Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Jack Canfield, your host. I have an amazing guest today. Her name is Michelle Reinglass. She is someone who's gone from a 30-year law practice to becoming a certified mediator. But more importantly for today, she is a speaker and the author of an upcoming book called, it's on balance. It's called Break Free from the Addiction to Busy. And we're going to talk about that at great length today. And so welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Glad to have you. So here you're focusing on balance. You're a lawyer, you're a mediator, and now you're writing about balance. What put you on this mission of focusing on balance?
Well, the first part is that I never felt I was in balance, probably since the time I was a semi-adult. And so I kept going on a quest all the way back to Louise Hay, her early books. And I do one thing and I think I'm there, and then I wasn't, and I was always in a rush, and I was always overloaded, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Meanwhile, everybody in my life was complaining to me about the fact that I was too busy and I never had time for them. And I got mad at that, actually. I was just going, what are you talking about? You see all the things that are on my plate. So I sort of felt like I was a person twirling plates in the air all the time, and they're trying to do something with your feet at the same time. But that felt normal because that's the kind of the backdrop of what I grew up in. I grew up in a very busy household that was just always busy. So nothing seemed abnormal to me. So fast forward, going through life, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get this email. I now had transitioned from being a lawyer to a mediator. And I was invited, I got an email saying, we want you to be a speaker at our program and an International Academy of Mediators. So I said, well, I'm not going to that particular conference, but thank you. And I thought that was the end of it. I got another email. We really want you to reconsider. We want you to be there. I said, thank you, but I've been sort of conferenced out. So the next thing I get was an email, and has now got the chair of the committee who says, we would like you to be on this program. And I said, what is the topic? And they said, balance. And I literally laughed out loud. I said, have you met me? I am the most imbalanced person you can imagine. And they said, well, we disagree. So just change your plans. Come on. So they talked me into going. So that was the beginning. And we went to this program, and it was a breakout session. So you have it in the morning, you have it in the afternoon, repeating it. And by the way, the last bribe was one of the guys who was trying to rope me in says, I'll do it with you. So he joked that he was my Vanna White, at the board. And so, but we worked together, and we were shocked in the morning. We had the largest attendance of anybody. I mean, it was like people all over the place. Now there are like 8 to 10 breakout sessions that have 150 people or so that are there. So, you expect to have maybe 15, 20 or something like that. But we had this massive number of people, and they were from all over the world. We had a blast. Everybody had a great time. And I'm thanking my women from India who taught us a stress reliever called the clap laugh. But in any event, so it was great. As I was getting ready to leave, 2 people came up to me and said, you need to write a book. That was so great. And so I'm like, yeah. So I leave. I get back to my hometown, and I start getting these requests. Hey, I heard you did this program on balance. I'm like, what the heck? So I did one. I did another program for our local bar, and I did one for the federal courts. And been invited to a couple others, and we just couldn't work out the scheduling yet. And then COVID has hit. So, but in any event, so somewhere back 3 years ago, I decided maybe I should try to write a book, but I wasn't really planning it. But as the universe aligns with us, all of a sudden these things on balance were flying at me everywhere. So one day I kind of awoke and said, I think I'm writing a book. So that's how it happened.
Good for you. Good for you. So talk a little bit about what the book encompasses and why it's so important for people to focus on balance in their life.
So I think we live our lives sort of on autopilot, and particularly professionals. What does everybody do? It's like, how much can you work? How much productivity can you give? And so people are just used to being on that treadmill, going and going. And very seldom do people actually stop and go, gosh, God, I have this pain and I don't know what's going on. And, or God, I have these migraines and things of that nature. And for myself, I actually had my first wake-up call was getting my first of 2 autoimmune conditions, and getting diagnosed with that was kind of it was a big wake-up call. I had a couple other little situations. I was a runner, and I was doing marathons, and I started having pain in my hips, and just one thing after another. And I finally was told by my doctor I had to stop. So that was another kind of wake-up call. And I started realizing, I've read books on mind-body prescription, and I started learning that there's so much of what happens to us physically is caused by our mind. And what's happening to our mind is stress is impeding it. Stress is just entering into it rent-free, coming into our minds and our brains and just saying, saying, I'm gonna do something that's gonna wake you up. And most of us don't. And I would tell you, I was one of those, guilty as charged. And what I call it my smoothie spill, slip and fall, and mild concussion, whack in the head. And one of those and the two autoimmune conditions were really, really big wake-up calls. So when you're moving too fast, you're always in rush. One way or another, you're going to trip, you're going to fall, or you're going to get a disease. And so that's, to me, why it's so important. And I have to tell you that since I've been implementing these balance, one by one and starting to believe in this more, it's really made a huge difference. And people, it's like, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, or not a psychologist, but people always come to me for, so Michelle, what was that thing that you do? And what's that recipe for the flu? And, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at balance, what are all the different aspects of your life that you have to look at in terms of balance?
That's the thing about this book. So I'm going to answer that directly. Is when I first mentioned balance to some people, they kind of roll their eyes and like, oh, yeah, balance. They think of work-life balance as ho-hum. It's not just a matter of mathematics. It's how much time you're spending working versus how much time you're working with your personal life. And come on, how hard is that? I'm like, how's your life? I'll tell you how hard it is. You're not in balance. And then they'll go, what? You just finished telling me about something. And I'm like, that means part of your life is out of balance. So it really covers everything. And I think that's why I had the hardest time naming the book, trying to figure out what can show exactly how vast this is. It's your entire body, it's your entire mind, it's everything. So it includes, it includes, first of all, just your time. It includes your mind. It includes your, it has to do with your money. If people are walking around going, I don't understand why we can't make money. I don't know why we work harder and harder. We're not making any. There's a relationship with money that gets out of balance. And let's say your money is out of balance. I absolutely guarantee you got other parts of your life that were out of balance, and they may have even been out of balance before that. So if you're not taking care of you, self-care is a huge part of balance. So if you don't take care of you, people use this all the time, but I still have to use it. I've been using it myself from eons. When you're on a plane, what do the airline attendants do? They always talk about, they go that whole little boring speech that everybody, zones out on. But one of the things they talk about, that mask, and they always say, put it on you first. Don't worry about your kids right now. Put it on you. Because if you don't exist, that kid's not going to exist. So you can't help other people. You can't help yourself. So it's just, you've got to start with yourself. So that's and I think that's the most neglected thing that we have right now going. And I just talked to somebody who was saying, oh my God, you just reminded me, I've been meaning to make a spa appointment and I kept putting it off, and I'll do it as soon as the kids are back in school and, all these things. And I'm going, so you've been stressed for how long? Oh, I let it go for 3 months and, things like that. And then they're wondering and say, by the way, do you know anything about, I know you always, you're so active in athletic stuff. So do you know what should I do for my left hip? And I'm going, well, first of all, get yourself in balance, get the self-care, get that going. And so that was one of the things. So it impedes, it goes in relationships, not just money relationships, your personal relationships. We all can think back to times where we've snapped at our significant other, our loved ones, and or let's say we snapped at ourselves. We're just mad at everything. We're angry, and you start going, it's all because, and we start blaming everything and everybody for their problem, for all of our problems, and we don't even realize we have them. So that's when the relationships are all going to be out of whack, totally out of whack. And like I said, everything flows from that. So it can be, there's just, like I said, it's your entire life. Habits is incredibly important to achieve balance. It took me a long time. I'm literally doing everything you're supposed to do for balance. And I couldn't make it stick. And I wasn't worried so much about making it stick. I was just thinking, I'm pretty good, at this. And I researched. And after about my 20th book on habits, I finally went, I got it. It's the secret sauce. It totally is. It's sort of the glue. So you can learn all these things, you can do all these things, but you have to make them consistent as well. And so. Sure.
That's good. So what are a couple of tips you could give our viewers about getting their life more into balance, getting themselves more into balance, achieving balance?
So there's so much to do. There's a lot of different things that exist, but I would say I'll give you my 3 tips that I call the 3 M's. And the first one is, and by the way, Jack, this is what you've taught all of us, is mindfulness. It's like number 1. And in my book, I'm actually mentioning it over and over because it is that important. And it's also the easiest thing for us to quote unquote lose. And so it's setting our mind, being mindful, setting up what you're going to be thinking of, noticing your thoughts. We had a day recently where everybody was agreeing to go positive, just have nothing but positive thoughts. And when you make up your mind to do it, it's really easy to find, oh my God, I just had that negative thought and I let it go all the way through. It's really easy to get out of that. And so just your mindfulness and being aware. I can tell you this, my smoothies slip and fall. I had Pilates that morning, 6 to 7, I'm rushing in, I'm going to read my files and I'm going to go do my phone calls for my mediation. And I'm running like crazy but I'm on track. And then I picked up my smoothie bottle, forgot the lid wasn't completely on, and it went all over, and it looked like the Green Lagoon. So then I am washing all that out, blah, 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 forgetting that I just finished mopping the floor up at the front, and then I come running back, trajectory to my head went in, and I ended up with this mild concussion. So I wasn't mindful. I lost my mindfulness. I wasn't even thinking about anything except getting to my end game of getting on my phone calls. And so it's the easiest thing to do if we put our mind on it. So the second one is movement. And that is, I exercise some kind of movement every single day. And I mean every single kind of day. Some people say, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time. I get all that. I'm in the same, we all have, even those of us who are exercise addicts and make it a practice all the time, we still will not factor it in for the day. But you have the ability to do some movement. So sometimes I don't have time to do a full exercise, I'll at least do a full stretch and core routine, or something like that for 10, 15 minutes. It's not everything I would do normally, but hey, I got it moving. So you want the juices rolling. And by the way, that affects, if you need to use your brain in your job, which is not everybody, then, your brain gets lubricated, with things circling around when you are moving your body. So there's so many parts that's why I even have nutrition, by the way, is really important. And I have it broken down into gut, to brain, different parts. So mindfulness, movement. And the third one, everyone's going to groan, the ones who don't do it, which is meditation. And it is so critical. And there's so many scientific studies. For those who are not believers, there are tons of scientific studies that actually show even hardcore prisoners have been able to improve their lives and gone straight just by meditation. Third grade children in third grade have been going through meditations, and it's made a huge difference for attention deficit, all those things. And by the way, a lot of adults, the joke with my family is, that we're all walking around with undiagnosed, ADD and all that stuff, OCD. And I always kind of go like, what? Oh, there's I can do that in a nanosecond. But keeping focus, all that kinds of things. Meditation helps. And so sometimes what I'll do now when I don't really have the time, by the way, Headspace is an app you can go use. They even put it in 3-minute increments. You can do a 3-minute, and sometimes I'll just peel out when I'm mediating and things are so stressful. I will just peel out into another room, close my eyes. I actually set my alarm on my phone because I don't want to fall asleep while I'm mediating, and get a minute, just to clear the mind. And there's just a lot that goes on, more than I can talk about in this chat. But anyway, so those are my 3 M's: mindfulness, movement, and meditation. And that can get anybody set on the path of balance. And then from there, there's just a lot more things to factor in to make your whole life in balance.
So I know originally you were thinking of calling your book Balance for Existence. Why that title? Why were you thinking of that?
It's a combination of that part and the breaking free from the busy is a combination. So your existence is the first part is, again, like I said before, nobody really understands how vastly it's evolved. Every time you're just standing there looking in a mirror at yourself, you have all these territories, 20 or more territories of balance areas. But the last part in the busy, like I said, growing up in a family that was busy, and it goes on beyond that, is just we're busy for the sake of being busy. We're busy out of habit. We are busy out of, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, I can't, excel in my work if I'm not busy. And, it's our culture to be, busy. I think the most productive people, the most successful people, in fact, I don't even just think this, I know this, the most successful people in our world, in our country, in your state, are people busy. They have balance. They get much more done because of the productivity. One of the things I have in my book is how you start your day. And I have a morning ritual. I have an afternoon ritual. People go, an afternoon ritual? We're all busy with, I go, exactly. I'm hitting all those things. And I've got an evening ritual. And how you start your day makes all the difference in the world. Are you going to be productive? So, and by the way, let's just talk about, is there anyone there who can actually truthfully put their hand up and say, I have never wasted time on social media? Because I'm going to call that out as BS. So no, that is not true. And I'm guilty. Oh my God. And you go in and you start, and it starts off with one person's post. This just happened the other day. Saw that one of my friends got some award, so I had to go click on it. And then, of course, you have to do a post, and then you have to do a like, and all that stuff. And the next thing you know is you see another thing, and all of a sudden you see another thing. And I looked at the clock, 30 minutes went by for what I thought was going to be a 1-minute click. And that was me, who's normally mindful. So, and by the way, I did not have 30 minutes to spare that day. So that just shows you how it can impact you. So that's why this busy is, everyone thinks they're really busy. They're spending time in places they don't need to spend time. Get done what you need to do, have a plan. And I can go in, again, I don't want to take up too much time, but have a plan, how your day is going to be, stick to the plan. We're all going to have interruptions, every one of us, and that's normal. And your plan can sort of factor that in. You might pivot, you might have to drop something off of your list. One way or another, you're going to get your things done. And then if you want to just play around, you've got time to do that. But at least you're knowing it. And what is it? You're mindful.
So we've run out of time, and I would like to make sure our viewers know how to reach you, and if I can get a copy of your book, and if they want to hire you as a keynote speaker to come talk to them about balance and maybe do a workshop, where do they go? How do they find you?
The best way would be our website, and that is www.reinglassadr.com, reinglassadr.com. And we'll be setting up new websites with the book names later, but for right now, that's the best way, and we'll give notifications when we change.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, Michelle. That was a lot of valuable information. I really appreciate it. Wish you great success with your book and your career. And for all of you watching, stay tuned. After these messages, we're going to have another guest.
Thank you so much, Jack. Really appreciate it.